Okay, I don't think we're at that level of cringe just yet. Hey, what is up guys? You're watching Epic Pokemon TCG, and in this video guys, I'm going to be giving you some tips for some habits you can start to develop that might help you out a little bit going forward in Pokemon. So if you guys do enjoy the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not subscribed. Be much appreciated, and let's get into the video. Alright, so the first one we're going to talk about actually is not on the list that I made together, or put together. Alright, so the first one we're going to be talking about is actually not on the list that I put together, but anytime I can tell anybody about this, I make sure to do it. So number one is to watch your stuff. When you go to events, when you're out somewhere else, and you know there's people around that you don't know, make sure to always keep an eye on your stuff. Trust me guys, it absolutely sucks to get your deck stolen, and it's just like the worst feeling in the world. It just completely ruins the whole trip. So yes, my advice to you guys is to watch your stuff. If you have to get up and go somewhere and you can't bring your stuff or just something like that, leave it with somebody you trust. Over my past like 9, I think, years or so I've been playing Pokemon, I've washed a lot of bags and people have washed my stuff for me. It's something my friends do, something I do. So yes, if you cannot bring your stuff with you for some reason, or you got to get up and go really quickly, make sure there is someone there that you trust and that you know will pretty much just say, hey, don't get in this guy's stuff or whatever. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on your stuff, guys. Trust me. Just, yeah, take my word for it. Alright, the next one is going to be always make sure to cut or shuffle your opponent's decks. Now, I'm not saying that there are people out there that cheat, but there are. Even in children's card games, it's a known thing. I've dealt with people that have stacked their decks before, or people that stack their decks to start off games, and you can pretty much ruin that completely by making sure that you just shuffle their deck or cut their deck or just rearrange their cards after they get done. And if someone does not offer you the cut or something like that, then just say something. Like if they search their deck, they play an Ultra Ball, and they put their deck down, you say, oh, hey, I need to, or I want to cut that, or hey, I need to cut that, or can I see your deck, please? And if they don't let you have it, then there's one simple thing you do. You raise your hand, you call a judge over, and you say, Judge, my opponent will not let me shuffle their deck or cut their deck, and they just got done searching. That's all you got to do there. And if someone's really anal about you not touching their cards, that's probably something you need to take up with the judge. I don't really necessarily know how that whole situation will be handled, but yes, if they don't let you, all you got to do is call a judge over, and that situation should pan out pretty quickly. So yes, just a habit, just to make sure that you know you don't get screwed over in games. And a lot of people will sometimes just say they tap, and you know it's a normal thing. But just my advice to you guys is to always shuffle your opponent's deck or cut it, whichever one. All right, the next one I'm going to go over is pretty tournament related. It is to make sure you go over your deck list and your deck sheet whenever you get done filling it out. Make sure that you did not make any errors. For big events, they actually give you time to go over it, and even if you go over it once and you say it's good, make sure to go over it as many times as you can until you get sick of going over it, because I've got a story for you really quick. It's not going to take 30 minutes, don't worry. I had a top cut in Tyler, Texas, and I was playing a Dawn fan deck. Got in top cut, handed them my deck list and everything, went to have lunch, came back, and they told me that I messed up on my deck sheet of how many Silver Bengal I had, and I had to end up taking one out and put in a regular energy. Got in the top cut and played against this grass deck, and I drew the oddball energy because I just threw in a fighting energy really quickly, and I faced it. I needed 20 damage, and I drew that fighting energy, and I ended up losing. So yeah, just always go over it, because pretty much like if you test and your deck's pretty much perfect, losing one card can just completely screw you over. And if you switch around numbers and such, just make sure that your deck list is always right and matches your deck, because that's just going to cause a lot of issues. Alright, habit number 3. When you search through your deck, you need to make sure you can check quickly what's prized. So if you go through your deck with like a Bridget, a Tapu Lele, an Ultra Ball, just whatever, go through your deck and see what cards exactly are prized. Like, not all 60, unless you're just a beast and you can do that, but like key cards for your matchup. Like if you're playing Gardevoir, check and see how many Ralts you have in your deck, check and see how many candies you have in your deck, check and see how many Gardevoirs. Just the key things that your deck needs to function, make sure you look through them. And if you're ultra balling for a Tapu Lele to grab a Bridget, make sure the Bridget is in there before you start going about your play, because you know things might change. But yes, just try to make sure you can see what's in your deck and just go through slowly. Don't take forever. You just want to go through really quickly and try to memorize your deck list. Try to remember like key cards you need for certain matchups and just going through your deck and check and see what's in there, because it can definitely help you out. That's a habit that I definitely need to pick back up and do, because a lot of times I misplay because I didn't check to see if something was prized. And you'll notice that you'll start playing matches out differently, and you'll start kind of adjusting, because then you kind of play differently, because like you can start going like the ratios and such. Like you're going, okay, I need this card, it's prized. If I get a knockout right here, I have this many prizes left. I'm getting this many knockouts, so I have a chance to, just things like that. Always go through your deck, check your check your prizes. Just seeing what's not in your decks. That way you can kind of plan out and how you're going to go about your game. The next one is going to be calculate damage before you attack. I am very bad about this. It's mostly just like the fact that like I'm dyslexic and I misread damage a lot. Sometimes I'll even look at like attacks that I've seen all the time, and I'll get like a number swapped, or I'll get a number mixed up with another number because I misread it or something like that, or it's just a different variety of things. But yes, calculate damage for your attack. Make sure you're doing as much damage as you are intending, and also this will prevent possible like issues where if you knock something out and you take 2 prizes or 1 prize and your opponent catches it and says, oh, you didn't knock something out, because then you're going to have to call a judge over and that becomes another ordeal. On top of that, maybe you're short damage, you don't realize it, you call your attack, you look at your hand and you're like, well crap, I could have played this card and got the knockout. Just make sure to calculate your damage. Just make sure you know how much damage you're going to be doing, and make sure to announce how much damage you're going to be doing, so that way your opponent can check it too and make sure that there are no errors. And if your opponent does it, is attacking, make sure they're actually attacking for that amount of damage as well. You will not seem like a douchebag if you are just checking and looking at what your opponent's doing as well, because you're just keeping the game stay how it's supposed to be and you're not disrupting anything. You're not going to look like a douche, just looking over and making sure your opponent, did enough damage. So yeah, and if they get upset about it, whatever, you're just trying to make sure that the game is being played properly, and that's really all it is. Oh my god, God, I love G Fuel. So if you guys might have heard, I said to announce how much damage you're going to be doing. The next one is going to be announce what you're doing throughout your turns, because yeah, sometimes you can mess up. Sometimes you can play a supporter and then you can play another supporter, or your opponent does it or something like that, because you just kind of go through the motions. You're just playing cards, you're just doing stuff. But if you start announcing what you're doing, that's going to help your opponent kind of keep up with what you're doing as well. And I've had a lot of issues where kids will just like play stuff down and then they'll say their attack and they just won't say anything, and they'll start taking prizes, or they'll just point to a Pokemon and start doing its ability, and I'm not like really 100% sure what they're doing exactly. So yes, just kind of announce what you're doing. I'm not saying announce every time you draw a card or something like that, but things like playing down an N, don't just show an N. Whenever you use like Wonder Tag, say you're using Wonder Tag, say you're grabbing the supporter, and announce that you're putting it in your hand or you're playing it. When you play down Ultra Ball, make sure to clearly speak that you're using Ultra Ball, just in case you're discarding a supporter or something like that, especially in because your opponent might get misinformed, and they might just see in and go, oh, and start shuffling. Just kind of like be vocal about what you do throughout games. I try my best to do that, and announce what attacks you're going to be doing, announce like what supporters you're playing, just all like a different variety of things. Keep your communication up, make sure your opponent is aware of what you're doing, and if you are not too familiar with what your opponent's doing throughout games, very politely just ask, hey, can you kind of tell me what you're doing, because I'm not really following your turns. Don't be a douche about it, okay? And speaking of douche, that is actually going to be the next one here. I don't know how you develop a habit of not being a douche, but I just feel like I just need to say this. Um, don't be rude to people. Okay, when you go to events and you're talking to strangers, and you're around like a completely different group of people, you're always going to run into that one person that's just mean for some reason. But um, be polite to people, especially people you don't know, and just try to be nice. I can't stress that enough. This is a family game, and you don't want to go up there and you don't want to pretty much like kind of ruin someone's trip a little bit or sour their trip or whatever I'm trying to say by just being rude to them. I know I definitely don't like when people are complete total douchebags to me. I don't like it when people are rude to me, especially when I don't know them. And throughout games, be polite to people. Like something I always do. I always do this after every game. I always shake my opponent's hand. I make sure to greet them with a hi, how are you doing? Things like that. Just be really friendly. You want to keep up that friendly atmosphere. Yes, we're there competing. Yes, we're there trying to win. But at the same time, you still want to be friendly. You still want to, kind of be known, in your community as someone that is approachable and very nice, because that's just going to help you get more friends throughout the process of playing. And, you can never have too many friends. It's always awesome to go up to events just to see people that you know and people that you have befriended, because that makes events well worth going just alone on that. Even if you do bad, at least you got to hang out with people that you're friends with and that you like. So just be nice. Alright, so I think the final one that I need to go over, because I feel like this is one that is pretty important, it is pay attention to your opponent's moves. Okay, pay attention to what your opponent is doing. That sounds kind of tricky, because of course you need to make sure that you're kind of planning out your turn, and you're trying to see what you can do to counteract some certain things that they're doing. But make sure that you really pay attention to what your opponent is doing. Getting back to the first one, or the second one, I should say, whenever I said that not all people are cheaters, they're not, but there are some out there, and it's even honest mistakes. I know I have played people, and even I've done this, where I've accidentally played two supporters in one turn. It happens. Just make sure that you pay attention. Like if your opponent plays down like an N, they do some stuff, and they play down a Guzma, you can immediately catch and say, oh hey, you already played that N earlier. And like if they attach an energy, you see where they attach the energy. And if they go to attach another one later, again, honest mistake, everyone does it. You can catch that. Keep an eye on what they're doing with their discard pile. I covered a video a long time ago. It gets extremely cringy at the very end of it, because I don't know why I went on a big tirade. But anyway, I did a video where a person was looking through their discard pile, and then they were taking cards out of their discard pile and putting it on top of their hand. I'm not saying you're going to run into that issue, but if you do run into that issue, you definitely need to call them out about it. If you say, hey, I saw that, you just put cards from your discard pile in your hand. It's just one of those things, you call a judge over, call them out about it, and I know that there's going to be that one person out there going, well, you can't prove that they did that, but still, nonetheless, just call a judge. But anyway, just really pay attention to what your opponent's doing. Also, if they retreated, they can't retreat again. Keep track of ability usages, just things like that. Just really pay attention to what your opponent is doing. And I feel like these habits, if you kind of keep them up, you'll start kind of... I feel like you'll start developing a little more as a player. These are just some small habits, and I'm going to actually hopefully cover like some tournament habits, just some things that you might need to learn going into tournaments, and like what you should prepare for, what you should bring, things like that. But yeah, these are just some small random habits that you can do that kind of will help you out in the process. I really wanted to put the be nice thing on there, because I feel like that's something that there just needs to be more of that in the world in general right now. But yeah, just make sure to pay attention to what your opponent's doing, because things can get really screwed up by missing one tiny card. And like, I'm not saying your opponent, every single opponent you're going to go up against is cheating you, but things happen. We're human. We make mistakes, and so you might miss an N. You might miss. You just might miss something. Also, another thing is like prizes. Make sure you have your prizes when you start the game. I've had 2 game losses because I forgot to put my prizes out, and I've actually had a warning put on me because I didn't notice my opponent put out prize cards, and we noticed like turn 2, thank God, so my opponent didn't get a loss for that one. But yes, Just make sure to pay attention to what your opponent is doing. Make sure to check your prizes when you go through your deck so you can see what exactly is prized. Make sure to go over your deck sheet. Make sure to watch your stuff. Make sure to, I totally forgot the other one. Don't be mean. Make sure to calculate damage whenever you attack, or actually, no, calculate damage before you attack. I just screwed that one up. And make sure to announce what you're doing. Make sure to announce what you are doing, because sometimes if you just point, you aren't very vocal, then, you know, sometimes people can just get, you know, things misunderstood, and you're causing a dilemma there, and the judge is going to have to come over and fix whatever's wrong. But yeah, just some small things for you guys to work on. If you notice that throughout this video that, you know, there might be some things that you know need to work on that I might have mentioned. Hopefully it's not the mean one. But yes, if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. I appreciate you all for watching. Sorry the uploads have been a little slow lately. Personal life has been getting in the way of content creating. Been going through some stuff. I'm good. Don't worry. I'm just fine. I've just been busy with some things. But if you made it this far, guys, I love you so much. Appreciate all the support lately. It just means a lot to me. Take care, and this is Epic Pokemon TCG signing out.